Hello and welcome to the KB Michelle Green podcast. Thank you for joining us today, tonight, or whenever you're listening in. So, this weekend has been quite the weekend. For starters, I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and she was sharing with me that she lost her father a couple of years ago, and we had already talked about it prior, but we just hadn't talked in a long time, especially since I lost my mom. And during that conversation, we began to talk about relationships with the people when we lose someone, relationships with people that we have an expectation of being there and showing up for us. And then on Sunday, I actually went to visit my mom's grave, and I visited her house. And of course, I hadn't been there in a while because of the holidays, and it was really tough getting through the season of my birthday, which is in November, then Thanksgiving shortly after, only like a few days after, then Christmas and New Year's, and going into a new year and wanting to stay in 2023 just for the mere hope of my mom being alive again. So getting through the holidays and actually coming into a whole new month has been pretty challenging. And so Sunday, we visited my mom's grave, her house, my grandmother, some family members. And it's been quite the weekend. It's been quite the weekend because when we lose someone that we love and that loved us, and they're no longer there, and we go back to the places where they used to be, or we go back to the place where their body lies, or we go to a room where we smell their scent, or we go to a space where we can almost hear their voices. It gets really tough, and the memories begin to flood your mind again, and it's like, oh my God, they're here, they're coming out around the corner, but they're not. And so you go through the beginning stage of losing them, what it was like the very first moment you got the news, and it just replays every single moment from the time that you found out that they were gone. Almost significantly every day. It actually has a ability to replay almost every episode that you've gone through since they passed. And I don't think that this actually goes away the longer time period that comes. I think that it actually stays that way, probably for as long as you have breath in your body. So, anywho, I was talking to a friend, and we were both sharing our experiences with one another. And she asked me a question. She said, "Did you lose a lot of relationships when your mom passed? Was it like the people that you thought were going to be there didn't actually show up?" And I told her, I said, oh my God, absolutely yes. The people that I thought would be at my doorstep never showed up. The people that I thought would give me a call and go out of their way to check on me all hours of the day never made a phone call. The people that I thought were going to welcome me with open arms and just allow me a shoulder to cry on never lend their shoulder. The people that I grew up with, that I thought for certain would have my back, were distant and nowhere to really be found. They were there for others. There were people who were there for other people. Some of the family members and friends were there for my grandmother and other people in our family. And this is not to say that, I want to take anybody down or that I want to be angry forever at the different experiences that I had with the people that were family members or friends. Whomever, I love my people, I love my family, and I love my friends. But I will say that it hurt tremendously to experience a tragedy of such magnitude in my life and not any of the people that I really thought would be in my corner. The people that I thought would show up, the ones that I thought would call, not be anywhere to be found. Not to call, not to hear their voices, not to have their shoulders, not to cry tears with them, but to be distanced from them, to be isolated almost. I guess that's really what it was, a complete isolation. And kudos to everybody who did show up. I thank you so much, and you know who you are. I really appreciate the ones that did stand up for me and had my back and formed a whole new posse. Thank you so much for traveling, for the flowers, the words, the kindness, the gentleness, just the ability to listen to what I was going through. Thank you for being there, for showing up for me, for doing all that you've done. I would not have been able to get through it without you. And I'm welling up in my eyes right now because I'm so grateful for every person that did show up for me during such a tragic time in my life. But this message is about the ones that don't show up. Things never go exactly as we expect them to go anyway, guys. So I want to just talk to you about the fact that usually God has a sense of humor, and in his humor, even in death, he will let you know that he is God. He wants you to know that he wants you to depend on him. He wants you to understand that just because you thought things were one way, it doesn't mean that that's how they're going to go. He wants you to understand that the relationships that you thought would last forever, that they won't. Because everything has an end to it on this side of heaven. So I just want to share that my experience relationship-wise with the passing of my mom and going through that whole week, which I previously shared with you guys of what that process was kind of like. Of course, I know I didn't express every single detail, but I tried to give you as much as I could to impact you, to make a change in your life today, to make sure that you're prepared, to make sure you understand the basic things of when someone passes away, what you have to do, what things are just going to be a requirement and things that you cannot get out of. But today is about these relationships. Relationships are not forever, as much as we would love to think that they are. Relationships don't last permanently. No matter if we grew up with the person or if we met them in college, we met them in our teenagehood, no matter when we became friends or when we became blood relatives, even if we're distant relatives and maybe we just, we got close, it doesn't matter. None of the relationships will be permanent because at some point in time, every relationship has to end. Some relationships are going to end while the person is still living. And some relationships are going to end in death. Some relationships are going to end because of marriage, getting a divorce. Some relationships are going to end because of just change in your life. We mature, we grow up. Scenarios are different. Maybe we needed someone, as they say, for just a season. Maybe we just needed them for a particular reason and God brought them in our life. And when it was time to exit, we wanted to hold tight because we thought that they were going to be there forever, but they aren't going to be there forever. And when we try to hold on to someone forever and they were only supposed to be there to do a job for a reason or a season, then it gets really ugly. The relationship tends to go sour. There's anger involved. There's hurt and pain. And that is an indicator, guys, for the relationship to end. That is an indicator that sometimes the relationship won't be able to be severed. Sometimes it won't be able to go back to the way things were. And we have to accept that that is just the truth. Nothing lasts forever, not even our relationships. Sometimes it's a friend that you have poured your whole soul into. Like my friend and I were talking about, sometimes it's that friendship that you've been knowing each other for 20 and 30 and 40 years, and it just shifts all of a sudden. It changes because you don't know what the other person may be going through, and you don't know what they are experiencing, and you also don't know what things that maybe they push under the rug alongside the entire relationship that bothered them, but they never decided to share. So when someone passes away that you both knew and that you both loved and that you both were close to, they may take on a different perspective than you. And it's absolutely normal for people to do that because you cannot control another person. Everybody has their own self-control. Everybody has the ability to feel what it is that they feel. And you can't be angry or mad forever at them for their own feelings. God loves all of us, even though we would like to believe that He doesn't. God loves all of us, even though we would like to actually believe that they don't deserve to be loved because of how they treated us. God loves everyone, even though they broke our hearts and we're still hurting and the tears are still falling. God loves all of us, no matter the damage that was done, no matter the impact negatively that you experienced. He loves us all, and we have to get to a point where we forgive. During the conversation with my friend, I told her that the last stage of love is forgiveness. If we look at the experience of how God loves us, He created a being that was so magnificent that he placed his own glory, image, and his nature upon. He wanted to look into the earth and find someone that looked like himself, an exact mirror image. Yet, when he looked into the earth, he found many of us. He couldn't see himself. He saw something that was horrible, something that he created that did not look like him. And although he was so excited and he loved so greatly, he became angry and he destroyed the world one time and then saved just a few. And then yet here we are again with sin in us. But he gave us another chance. He gave us another chance to be able to be forgiven. So the last stage of love is forgiveness. And I want you guys to know that I know it's hard. Oh my God. When I tell you, when these things first happened to me, when these relationships began to fail, when these instances of I will say almost hatred. It was just like hatred in my heart because of so much that was done and said, the words that people said to me, and just the disrespect in a time when I really needed kindness and gentleness and love. And I know how it feels to be angry at someone because of what you expected to be totally different. And I wanted to beat them up. I wanted to punch them in their faces. I wanted to slap the fire out of them. I wanted to do something to them that would be very painful. However, I didn't. I prayed. I asked God to help me to forgive them over and over again. And guys, we got to understand that forgiveness, just like God's forgiveness, is new. The mercy and the grace is new every single day. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to come like a piece of cake and you do it one time and it's done. It's going to definitely be where over and over and over and over again, every single day, there's new forgiveness. There is new mercy and grace for this person who hurt you, who damaged you, who broke your heart every single day. The person that was not sensitive to you losing your loved one, the person who was disrespectful to your family, the person who was disrespectful to your friends, the person who was supposed to be a friend that just didn't show up, that became absent and acted as though they didn't even know you and you never had a really close relationship at all. That is how forgiveness works. And the thing that we got to remember is that forgiveness is 70 times 70 every day. That's 490 times that we need to practice forgiveness. So God even knew that we would need to repeat this cycle over and over again because he knew that we were going to go through anger and hurt, sadness, and sometimes even being so pressed down that we wouldn't even want to pick ourselves back up. But listen, guys, the last stage of love is forgiveness. And then the cycle starts all the way over again, just like I shared with my friend. When you have forgiveness, you forgive multiple times every single day. You might see that person and it's going to be like, oh my God, I don't like them all over again. And that's all right. But eventually, if you keep practicing forgiveness, you will be able to restore the person back to the place that they were before they hurt you. Thank you.